Hey, and welcome to In Conversation with ASI. I am joined today by Aaron Mitchell from Aaron Mitchell Styling. Thank you so much for your time this morning, Aaron.
Thank you.
I have asked you to come on because you started with us, correct me if I'm wrong, last year in the middle of lockdowns.
Yeah.
And saw success quite quickly.
Yeah.
And then you came into the room the start of this year to sort of complete your advanced, correct?
Both certificate and advanced. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So at what point last year was the tipping point for you to make that decision and go, actually, it's time?
It was lockdown number one, right in the middle. I was in my last career, which was I was an elite acrobatic gymnastics coach, choreographer, and judge. Big tongue twister.
Yeah.
And I was already realizing that I was making other people's dreams and goals come true, which was great for them. And it was never a career that I really wanted to do in the long term. And it wasn't until we were locked down, I was sat at home watching the bold type when I realized that's what I want to do. I want to be Sutton. I want to be a stylist instead of pushing this dream and like fantasy away. Like, what can I do to make it happen? Found ASI, spoke to you, spoke to Penny, got the ball rolling. And then by, I think it was the first week of May, I was enrolled and off we went on our modules and here we are.
How did you find that online experience, given that you didn't actually come into the classroom until January?
I actually really liked it that way around because I felt like I could digest it all at my own pace. And then I think it was maybe you, once we got into the classroom, actually said, hopefully that confetti will settle. And that's exactly what it did. It was like a whole overload of modules and information coming through the screen, and there's the phone there, and there's your iPad there, and games and TV and whatever it might be around you to distract you. But when you're in the classroom and all of that knowledge is kind of floating around, it all starts to sink in and settle in and all make sense. So I quite liked it that way around.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. How did you get into the acrobatics thing?
So I was working as after school, I studied graphic design actually. And like I was in branding, and I had a job for a small business. The small business closed down and I was going on a huge, extravagant 6-week Europe and America trip for my 21st at the end of that year. So I'd been a dancer for 15 years. I'd done acrobatics. My sister was an elite gymnast. I went in to pick up one of my friends from training, and my old coach was, in a frantic mess, stressed because one of her like full-time coaches had left. And I said, well, I need a job and I'm sure I could get by coaching if you needed me to. And then 5 years later, I made it to, I was at an elite level, one of the best choreographers, I would say, in the world, which was fantastic. My routines won silver medals at Worlds, took routines to Vegas, Antwerp, Belgium for World Cups and World Championships and everything. So it was kind of just this big whirlwind of 5 years that was not expected, not quite what I wanted to do. It was fun while it lasted, but then when that kind of novelty of it all wore off and I realized it's not what I want to do, that's how this all started happening.
Yeah. I think the draw card was to fashion.
It was almost the opposite. It was like there was always that like desire and that obsession and that passion, but my reasoning, which is so silly being on the other side of it now, was why would I want to do what I love in the fear that I will stop loving it?
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I was like, I enjoy graphic design. I love looking at typography and working in vector art and Photoshop and whatever it might be. I enjoy that, but I love fashion. So that's reserved strictly for my downtime with a glass of wine and a Vogue, or scrolling through Instagram on fashion pages and whatever it might be. So they had to be separate so I could enjoy that and not lose that passion for it.
Yeah.
But that's just ridiculous. So when I realized that that was just an excuse because it was scary and kind of design was what I knew, then that's when the penny dropped and that's when it all started coming through.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So once you enrolled, what was sort of the trajectory as to where you are now? Because for those who don't know, you're the campaign stylist for Tony Bianco, and then you're also the main stylist for precision management as well.
Not just one of the stylists. Yep. Sorry, repeat the question again for me.
So like, because that's where you are now, sort of how did you end up in this point?
Yeah, right. The, I guess, initial moment was being asked by a friend of a friend to style a test shoot for a few models at the Precision Studios. And I was, excuse my French, scared shitless. Like, I was absolutely mortified at the thought of it. I'd never like been anywhere near a photo shoot before, had no idea what I was doing. Called you guys, got some advice, just said, yeah, okay, I'll do the shoot. I can figure it out. And then it was kind of just step by step and like building momentum, and like there's been lockdown after lockdown and whatnot, but I've kind of kept it going, set the goals, set the expectations at a reasonable level, achieved them, and then, okay, what comes next? And it has kind of been like it's been quick, like definitely compared to, like, I mean, you shouldn't compare to anybody else, but it has been quick. But it's been because I've been motivated and driven to say, right, that can't happen now, so let's aim for that. And that's happened now, so what's my next goal? And it's kind of just been like a process like that.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I love that. And I do remember you ringing us and saying that you had that opportunity. And then we just got Javel in WA and we're like, help us get out. Let's get him where he needs to be. And I think even looking at some of the shoots that you've done, and I think if anyone's watching this and they haven't seen your Instagram, especially with the latest shoot, which is kind of what I want to talk about next, but they say you should never work with like animals and children, but you seem to have done the animal thing a couple of times now.
Mm-hmm. And my last career with children.
Yep.
40 hours a week. Yep.
Yeah. How did you bring that creative vision to life? Because I mean, even trying to source animals to come on set to bring that together would have been a process. How did it all come together?
Okay, so I mean, the inspiration came from initially kind of 2 points. Last year, watching Black is King, the Beyonce visual album. The stylist's name escapes me, but her work, I think, is just incredible. It's all of that like layering and print on print and all those kind of animal textures and furs and everything. And that was, last year. And every concept I have goes in my notes in my phone, and I go through each single one and tick them off in my own time. So then this one came up. The second kind of inspiration was one of my favorite photographers, Richard Avedon. So, excuse the dog. He's got a photo with a snake, a woman laying down with a snake and the big bracelet. You might have seen it before. So that was kind of a reference image. And then, it was like, let's get this team together. I need hair, makeup, the perfect model that had to be exactly what I had in my head to make the vision come through, and obviously the photographer. So once I pulled them all together, then honestly, the snake happened the day before.
Wow.
Yeah, it was always an option, but we'd rescheduled that shoot about 2 or 3 times already. There was a lockdown the week prior, so we rescheduled again. And then about 3 days after a lockdown finished, I think it was number 3, we said, all right, let's book it in for this day. I said to the model, can you deal with a python? She said, I'm here for a python. Let's do it. And then, I literally scrolled through a bunch of ads online, spoke to a handler, and she said, yeah, sure. I've got a party in Brighton with the kids, but I'll come right on by afterwards.
Wow.
So it all came together really well.
Yeah. And I know that you got to hold the snake. Are you scared of snakes by any chance? Or
I mean, it was certainly an experience.
yeah.
I didn't love it, but it was fun. It was actually quite funny. There was about 3 times where I screamed because there was one where the snake was slithering into the model's boot while she was lying down. So it ended up in like knee-high boots down at her ankle.
Oh my God.
And she was like traumatized. I was screaming. And then she had the snake wrapped around her body and its little tail was like hanging down near the skirt. And in the photos, it looks like she's wearing a snake print leotard, but it's actually just a fitted top. So I'm tucking the top into the skirt and realizing I'm tucking the snake tail in as well. And I screamed and she screamed and then the whole place was frantic. I'm like, all right, everybody calm down. We can. So it was, yeah, as a whole, it was quite an experience, but paid off. And I finally got that dream. Like when that vision comes through, that I've been sitting on this idea for 12 months and it finally, like the photos came up and I thought that's exactly what I wanted. I did what I needed to do and I got my goal. Like it was just so good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't think I could do the snake thing. I'm reserved to like domesticated animals.
Absolutely. I think that's enough for the animals for a little while. We've done horses, we've done snakes. I think we'll throw in the towel there.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love that though. And I love what you just said about like you're keeping track of those concepts as they come to you. And I think not enough creatives actually jot down those things. They think, oh, that's a great idea. But we forget in the moment to actually take that down because it doesn't have to happen then and there. Yeah. But it can be something that's actually, comes to fruition 12 months down the track like it has for you. That's really cool.
The big thing for me is like obviously goal setting, but also like holding myself accountable because I think if I don't, there isn't anyone, like this isn't high school anymore. Like I have that opportunity, but also like it could be a detriment if I don't hold myself accountable to these things. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So I'm curious because it's been a whirlwind 12 months now. At any point over the last 12 months, has there been a moment where you felt like this is all too hard and I just want to throw the towel in? And then what was it that sort of got you through the other side of that?
Yeah. So I wouldn't say throwing the towel in because it was too hard. There have certainly been some times where I've like been on the verge of tears because of how hard it was, but I love it still. More so the hardest part for me has been the lulls. Like when you have such high highs, like people talk about it all the time, like the higher the high, the bigger the fall. And there've been dense weeks or months where it's just been shoot and like this person contacts me and a paid gig here and it, like one thing right after the next. And then all of a sudden all those things stop and then the excitement's gone. And then it's like, well, what now? Like I'm clearly not where I thought I was. I didn't think I was getting booked every week or had something on all the time. And that's when you kind of get down on yourself. But I'm the kind of person which I like to think most people can be. It's like, okay, have your minute, whinge, whine, cry if you need to, have a day in bed, sure. But you need to pick yourself up. You need to figure out what comes next, what you need to do to like get that feeling back and get it more regularly. So that means, okay, test more, reach out to someone that you didn't think you should, or like have a cold call or a cold email, or just do something that's not something out of the ordinary, like put simply, something that might help, something that might not, but you've got to do something. Yeah. So yeah, even if it's just a content shoot with an iPhone, just something that shows you're working, you're doing something, you're being proactive.
Yeah, I love that. I think Sarah mentioned something in our other episode similar. It's just taking that one step every day that will hopefully move you forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the other projects that you recently worked on was for Collins Place with Liz Sunshine.
Katie Collins, yeah.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that experience.
It was incredible. I actually had a bit of a teary at one stage because I had set, I don't know whether I've already mentioned this or not, but I set each goal whether they're small or large. And one of them was just a pull from high-end designers. And it was not necessarily the fact that it was that shoot. It was the fact that I had hit that goal in a short amount of time. Like, I worked hard for it and I got it. So the whole experience of that was amazing. It was probably the biggest production I've done. There was a team of, I don't know, upwards of 10, 15 people. It was a full day. It was craziness. It was running around. It was stressful and exciting and fast. And it was just so good. It was so, so good. It was, again, stopped because of lockdown. So it was rescheduled. And then, everything just happens quick and on the fly. And you've got to be ready for, like, you know, logistics of that day was kind of running up and down 20 stories in an elevator of a hotel room to get stuff. And it was, you know, come down. It was like, no, we're not shooting that. We're going to shoot something else. And I was like, great, back up we go. You know, you just get it done. It was fast and just, it was overwhelming at some points, don't get me wrong, which a lot of shoots can be. But the payoff was just amazing. And that feeling of, like, gratitude was overwhelming when I, like, hit that goal. It was just such an amazing feeling. It was so good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a strategy for how you say level-headed when things get a bit manic?
I mean, it sounds kind of cheesy and, like, simple, but breathe. I could just, it's like a little shoulder thing I do. I don't know. I'm like, okay. And then I just guess reality check. I think that's something that's, I've learned a lot recently. It's like, what's going on in your head doesn't necessarily mean it's going on in their head. I can be going crazy and think I'm doing the worst job in the world and not up to my standards and what have you, but the client or the model or whoever else is on the other side is just seeing what they're seeing. And if you're composed on the outside, you're doing a great job. That's it.
It's funny how much, like, stressful situations we forget to breathe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like anxiety 101.
Yeah.
Breathe.
Literally, if you're running around trying to get a model zipped up and you're like, oh my God, I forgot. Like, it can get so stressful. But that's part of it. And that's where the fun is.
Yeah. Love that. You mentioned that your sister was also, like, in that gymnastic space and things like that. Was she a big supporter, or is there someone in your life who is that sort of key pillar of support for you as you go through this next phase in your career?
Yeah, she's definitely been a support. Honestly, there is no way I could pinpoint one person. I have such a good support system around me, which I think is so important. And if you don't, I think there's definitely work that should be done, because without that, you need those kind of moments of, like, the moments to celebrate your wins, the people to talk to when there's, you know, those down times or those hard times or whatever. So, I mean, my mum, anytime I need help, she's there. I say, I've got 10 pairs of shoes to tape. And she's like, well, get the masking tape out. Let's go. And we sit around and do that. I've got friends that I know when I need to whinge, they'll just listen to me. And I go to them for that support. And then I've got friends that I show them my new work and they just lift me up and, like, bring this light out of me and celebrate the wins. And it's such a good feeling. So I think it's important to have, like, if you've got one person, that's fantastic, but having a good support system around you, because this is not a 9 to 5 where you can just wake up, chuck on a suit or a dress, go to work, do the job and come home. Like, you need to have, like, it's life, like, it's your whole career. It consumes you sometimes. So if you don't have those right people around you, supporting you and, like, cheering you on, it's hard. It's really hard. And ASI, like, such a beautiful community, whether it be a DM from a student who has seen my work and just wanted to let me know that they loved it, or whether it's you or Lauren or Penny or anyone that we can speak to and, like, bring us up or point us in the right direction or give us the right contact, or, you know, just remind us that, like, you didn't do that to your standard, but that's okay because you did it, or whatever it might be. So I don't know. There is no way I could pinpoint one person. I think it's just, for me, my entire network.
Yeah, I love that. And that's so important. And I think what you said there is, like, you've got to also have those people that you can go to when the chips are down and be like,
absolutely,
like I need someone to just like chew their ear off for 10 minutes and let go of that sort of energy and then keep moving forward. With all that in mind, what does success look like for you in the future, and how do you actually measure success for yourself?
Yeah. Success, I don't know. I measure it in two ways, I guess. I think like booking a job and getting a certain like X amount of dollars in your bank account at the end of the month or the end of the year or whatever it might be, like that's definitely one way I can measure my success personally. I think more importantly though, it's like the happiness and the fulfillment, like crying in the car, realizing that I'd achieved a goal was far more successful to me than, you know, booking my first paid job. Like it just was so overwhelming. I was so grateful that I achieved that success because that's how I measure it personally. The way I measure them is I have my kind of small, simple, achievable goals. Achievable in like all goals should be achievable, but in the sense that I can reach that within the next month or 3 months, say. Then I guess I've got my kind of 6-month goals, my 5-month goals, and my 10-month goals. So like I said before, I've got something to work towards. I can be held accountable. I revisit them every few months, add in things that I obviously want to achieve, and then look at what I've done, have them sit there. I tick them off so I can see the little yellow tick on my notes and know that, yeah, this year has gone by. We've only been through 8 months and I've got 6 ticks there. Like it feels amazing. And then I think it's important for you to see in your brain to process the fact that you had nothing here and now you've done all these things.
I think I love that visual, and I think there's so many people out there who don't take the time to actually tick things off, even though they might write it down or mentally sort of make that note. But I remember in the early days I rang ASA. I was like, I feel like I'm not doing anything, and I sat there and was comparing myself to other people in the community, even people who had sat in the classroom with me, and I was like, I feel like I'm really far behind. And I remember my mentor at the time, Shelley, said to me, she's like, I want you to hang up the phone and call me back in 20 minutes and write a list of everything that you have done. I ended up with like 2.5, 3 pages worth of things that I'd actually achieved in like the year that I'd come out of the classroom. I was like, oh,
absolutely.
It's so rewarding.
You need to measure it against yourself, not anybody else.
So true. Yeah. In saying that, is there someone that you look to for inspiration, and where do you seek inspiration at the moment? You mentioned that like the bold type was sort of like the tipping point, and then there's the Beyonce visual album.
Look everywhere at the moment, because I mean, I think we've gathered by now I give very multifaceted answers. I haven't got I haven't got a clear person or something.
True creative. It all just...
I know, right? I'm so annoying. I'm sorry. So I don't know, for like current trends, runways, photo shoots, people, competitors, all that kind of stuff, Instagram and TikTok. Like there is no faster paced current on-trend platform. Not even, Vogue magazine does the same amount. Like you can find information anytime, and it's always like as current as it can possibly be. And the best part about it is you can curate your feed to be what you want. Like I have my styling page specifically for stylists, photographers, makeup artists, people I work with, magazines, publications, whatever it might be. So I see what I need to see for my own inspiration, for me to digest what I need to digest. But then on kind of a more, I guess you could say, holistic approach, like podcasts, I'm always listening to podcasts for inspiration, because I don't necessarily need to hear in my ear that, pink or green is the color of the season, but more so, have you not been feeling happy this week? Here are some tips and techniques to give you happiness. Like, because if you're not at your best, then the work's not going to be. So I think it's this balance between finding inspiration for your work and for yourself, to keep yourself in a healthy happy mind, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. What kind of podcasts are you listening to? Is there anything you'd recommend?
Absolutely. There was a podcast, I think I finished it earlier this year, and I'm not sure whether they're still recording, but it's called The Happiness Lab. Not sure if you've heard it. You have? Yeah. And I personally like things quite black and white scientific. So that is a really good way. She kind of gives an analogy, tells the science behind why you are or why you're not happy, and then explains to you techniques and tips and just little ideas. And whether you get one thing from the whole entire podcast or one thing from every episode, there are so many things I've taken away from that I just implement. For example, I think we're conditioned these days in this kind of modern era that like we need to manifest everything, and you visualize it, you need to see it, you need to taste it, you need to hear it, you need to do all of that. But she explains it's actually unhealthy because all you see is the end goal, and often you can't achieve it. Like you can't always achieve that goal. So you need to remember and reality check, like, okay, yes, I can hear it and taste it and smell it and da-da-da-da-da-da, but what obstacles are in the way? And I think that's a huge thing that's I use every day now. What obstacles are in the way? What's going to get in my way, stopping me to get that goal? What does that look like? What does that feel like? How do I then overcome that? So yeah, the Happiness Lab, I think, is a great one. Business of Fashion, whether it's, you know, I mean, you guys have spoken about it a million times before. It's sustainability, or it's, you know, how many millions they spent on this runway show, or whatever it might be. It's just always good for inspiration.
Yeah, I love those in conversations that they do with designers or those particular topics. There's one that they did on like the future of plus size fashion and things like that, and even like what we're going to be wearing and the fates of like retail after the pandemic and things like that. And I just think it's great to get those sort of leaders in the industry's perspectives, because without a platform like that, we might never hear from them.
That's right. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Aside from like the amazing styling work that you actually produce, you're a pretty stylish guy yourself, let's be honest. What is the piece of clothing in your wardrobe that is your favorite, or the one that gives you the most confidence?
I think about this all the time, and it has to be my $6 Op Shop black blazer that I picked up a couple of years ago. I wear that thing to death because every single time I put it on, I feel confident, I feel comfortable, and I feel like it's the best piece to kind of dress up and down, jeans and a sneaker, or like a pleated trouser and a loafer. So I love it for that reason, but also it was kind of the first piece, and I get reminded of this every time I look at it, the first piece that I bought maybe ever from an op shop, because I was, you know, so uneducated on the importance of buying secondhand. I do it all the time now, but this piece was like the first like initial purchase that got that thought going, because look how much I appreciate it. It's literally become, it was $6 and it's become my like pride and joy that makes me feel the best. So now I look at it from such a different perspective. I see value in, you know, thrifting and buying secondhand or vintage or repairing or whatever it might be. So hands down, my $6 black blazer, and it's Australian made, and I literally thrash it and it's in perfect condition. Like it's just a testament to, you know, buying good quality. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. Outside of sort of what work you're doing now, and I'm going to just throw this one at you, but what would be like the dream gig to land?
That is a great question. I've realized lately I don't think too far ahead. I don't know. I think I want to see my work, be it celebrity styling, editorial styling, even a commercial job, in the pages of a major publication, whether it's Vogue or Dazed or whatever it might be. I want to see it and I want to hold it and not see it from scrolling through Instagram or clicking on the website. I think
having it printed, tangible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. I know that you've had some of our stylists come on board and assist you as well on some projects. What do you look for in a great assistant?
That is a great question. I guess initiative. Like there can be a million things that need to be done that I personally don't need to tell you to do. And whether it's paid or unpaid, you're there for the whole experience. So like get immersed in it. If you see like I've forgotten to tape a pair of shoes, start taping them. Like, or the model's in a rush and she's ripped everything off and chucked it over the chair, just hang them up. Or just little initiative actions like that make such a big difference. That's definitely something I look for. What's the word? Not drive, not, I guess I want to bring someone on that's on the same kind of level as me, as in terms of they're going to talk to everyone around me, they're going to network, they're going to make use of the opportunity that I'm giving them, if that makes sense. I mean, it'd be nice just to have someone there that'll do the job for me and, you know, doesn't say anything, but then what's the point? I want to lift other people up like, you know, other people did for me. So someone who's, you know, going to talk and say, you know, if you ever need help with anything else, let me know, or whatever, you know. So kind of make their own mark as well. Within reason, that I mean, an assistant also needs to know their place, you know, respect the boundaries, remember kind of, yeah, where they lie in the scheme of the production. Yeah.
You said just there, know your place. And I know we've had a conversation previously where we were talking about sort of some of the best advice you've been given about the industry and being on a set. And you had the privilege of working with Carlos Mangubat on a shoot, and that was something he shared with you.
Absolutely, yeah.
How has that sort of changed the way that you work after working with him? And now he's not ASI trained, but someone who has some amazing work that's been produced globally. Yeah. Tell me about that experience and maybe how it's changed your perspective.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think him, like a lot of stylists, were reluctant to work with me, considering I've kind of got my own career already started. But he gave me the opportunity to work on a campaign. I think it was earlier this year, and yeah, said to me, "Know your place." As the assistant, I think, you know, a million people have been burnt in the past with their assistant, you know, burning those bridges by speaking out of place, or, you know, etc. So him saying that to me has gone far further than that particular shoot. I am reminded of it every time I'm in any setting now, even big campaigns I've worked on, and I sit back and I think I could be doing a better job directing this model here, or I could be doing a better job doing da-da-da-da-da, but know your place, because your place for this shoot, for example, is as a stylist. If you're in art direction, fantastic, then go ahead, go say what you need to say. But yes, I think it's so important. And even in life, like, know your place. Like, I'm your friend. I don't need to tell you how to live your life. Like, I think it's a really important tool to have in the back of your mind at all times. Yeah.
What is in the pipeline at the moment? Is there anything that you can share that we can get excited for?
Yes, spring racing is just around the corner, and I'm praying to whoever's up there that it goes ahead this year. Let's be real, probably won't, but we won't worry about that yet. So I'm working on a bit of a spring racing video series with a friend of mine, Demi. So I'm super excited about that. It's kind of going to be, you know, tips and tricks and looks for each day, and how to dress, and traditions that you can kind of work to, and then ones that you can, you know, skirt past, and all that kind of thing. So that's exciting. Everything else, like I said before, we're in a bit of a lull, honestly. Like, I've had such a high the past month, squeezed in 2 shoots within the 6 days we were out of lockdown. So I'm in one of those kind of lulls where I need to figure out, all right, what's next? So honestly, that's where we're at the moment.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Which again is, I think it's nice to share because there are probably so many stylists, so everyone, not even stylists at the moment, feeling the same. And it's so okay.
Yeah.
Just, you'll figure it out. And if you're not figuring it out, speak to someone else and they'll help you figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Great piece of advice. Well, thank you so much for your time. This has been amazing to sort of, hear your insights and a little bit about the work that you've been doing. And I can't wait. I really hope Spring Racing Carnival does go ahead so that we can see what you're working on. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Brilliant. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Chat soon.
Bye.